Hello, came across this 3D shape generator, which is pretty cool, all based in a browser. So let's have a look at what we're going to create today. We're going to look at kind of matching up that mathematical concepts and shapes with AR. So we're going to jump into Procreate, Reality Composer. You'll need your iPad, but to generate the actual shapes, you'll just need a web browser. So it'll work on any device. So let's jump into it. I'll post the link to the website in the information. And here's what it is here. It's just up the top. Don't get overwhelmed by the number of things you can do, which is pretty cool. You can have a play around with just hitting the random button. You can have a look across the top and all the different things. I'll take you through a pretty simple how to create a spinner today, but there's some pretty cool things that we can do. So let's go up to our getting started examples and start with a sphere. And all we're going to do is just change one element. Now, there are lots of different shapes and lots of different variables that you can play around with that mathematical people will appreciate more than me. But I'm going to start just with this latitude frequency just over here and just start to play around with just one of the different variables. So I'm just going to flatten this out a little bit to turn it into a bit of a spinner. So I'll just have a little bit of a play. I want something sticking out at the top and bottom because we're going to make it a spinner in augmented reality. That's looking pretty good. Might make it just kind of come out a little bit more. One thing to recognize is that when you're doing this, before you export it, you want to make sure that it's an enclosed shape because in AR, you're not going to be able to see both sides of the texture. So you've got your undo button up the top here. I'm going to come along to, you've got your colors. You can put on your UV textures if you want. I'm not going to worry about that. It'll still export to Procreate beautifully. And I'm going to come up here and just export that geometry. So we've got a couple of different options. You've got STL if you want to print these out and do some different stuff. We're going to go with an OBJ because that's going to talk to Procreate beautifully and we can actually start painting directly over the top. I'm going to leave all those settings as they are. We might call it something that we can find on our iPad in our Files app. So why don't we just call it Spinner or something like that, something pretty simple so that we can find, and we're going to export that geometry and it will go straight to our Files app ready for Procreate. So why don't we jump into Procreate now and we'll bring that straight in, which is super cool. So we'll go into Procreate. You can see here I've already started playing with a lot of these geometric shapes, pretty cool fun in regard to what we can do with them and sculptures and kind of incorporating mathematics with STEAM and the arts, which is awesome. So we're going to go up to Import and we're going to look for that spinner. Now, if it doesn't come up on your iPad, it could be because you've got your filters settings coming up for names or dates or something. So I'm just going to go to recent. Normally you'll find it there. There's the spinner. It is just over a meg, which is going to come down even further when we bring it into Reality Composer, but we're going to do some coloring. So if you haven't used 3D on Procreate before, it's super cool. We're going to go up to layers at the start because we just want to really have control of our layers. So top right-hand corner here, we're going to create a brand new layer. We're going to click on black and we're going to drag that little circle, that color, and actually fill that shape automatically. I like to do black because it gives us a good base layer. Then we're going to come up to layers again and create a new layer. We're going to go to our brushes and just have a little bit of fun. We're going to go with a bit of a psychedelic here. So we're going to go with our airbrush and we're going to select maybe just a soft or a medium brush, depending on what we want to do. And on the left-hand side, you'll see that we've got both our brush thickness and our opacity. So you can play around with that. 2-finger tap on iPad will be our edit undo, which is super cool. So let's go with some psychedelic colors. We'll go with some kind of fluorescent colors here to get started. So we'll click on our colors at the top and we'll select maybe, say, a hot pink or something that's just going to blend well. So I'm just going to brush over the top. I'm on a bird's eye view, so I'm only going to cover the top a little bit like a donut. And then I'm just going to go through some really bright colors. I can increase my brush strength if I wanted. And it looks really dodgy at the moment, but we're going to apply a little Gaussian blur over the top just to get it a little bit nicer looking at the end of it. So we'll just finish off the top here for our colorful psychedelic spinners. And then at the top left-hand corner, we're going to go up to the little magic wand and do some adjustments. So right next to here, we're going to go to Gaussian blur. And we're going to, with our iPad our Apple Pencil, we're just going to drag over, go to about 15, 20%, and you can see here it blends in beautifully. How good does that look? It's turned my dodgy painting into a beautiful kind of gradient, which I really, really like. Yeah, that looks really good. So we're basically done there with our Procreate. All we really need to do is export it as a USDZ file. But before we do that, just to reiterate, we really do need to kind of make use of our layers, because if we have good layers and we create layers, we can turn things on and off. We don't have to start again, and we have greater control over our export and our product. So let's go up to our cog, our spanner, we'll go to share, and we'll make it sure it's USDZ, because that's the one that's going to talk to augmented reality. Let's call it something in our files. We might call it Spinner Final or Spinner AR or Spinner USDZ. And let's do Spinner Final. We'll press done. We'll press save. And it says export successful. That's pretty good. Let's jump into Reality Composer, another free, or this one's a free application. And we'll be able to create some pretty cool AR. So we're going to go to plus. It's going to be a spinner, so it's going to be on the ground. So I'm going to select a horizontal anchor. We're going to go up to our plus and go to imported. And we're looking for that spinner final.usdz. You can see it's under a meg, which is amazing for a 3D product. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be super huge. See how big it is? So what we're going to do is we're going to click on it once or tap on it once. We're going to reduce in the properties here the scale of it. We're going to bring it right down, and to center it back into the middle of our stage, we might go up to reset just to reset it there. And then we'll zoom in to have a look. Now, if we get lost at all, I'll tell you what to do, but we're going to drag our green cone up so that our spinner is sitting on the ground, because we want it as authentic as possible. See there, we don't want it going under. We want it kind of sitting, that spinny bit sitting on the ground. We can scale that down a little bit if we think it's going to go on a desktop or somewhere else. Each of these grid points is 1 by 1 meter. So just be aware of that. You want to try and do it to scale, because AR is about visualizing digital. Now, if you get a little bit lost, you go up here and you just frame your scene. So if we ever get a bit buggy in that, just frame your scene, zoom back in, and you're ready to go. So all we need to do is go to our behaviors. We're going to create a brand new behavior here. And it's going to be a custom behavior. And we're going to say that the trigger is that when we tap it, it's actually going to spin. So we've got a bit of user activity there. So we're going to select that. Oops, tap off it. Tap on it, make it green, and press done. So when I tap my geometric shape, it's going to spin. So we'll go down to our actions and find spin. You can change the different axes on this, and you can change the way it spins and a whole range of different things. We're going to change the amount of times it spins, and we're going to change the duration. We're going to click on it, and you can see that my beautiful psychedelic Gaussian blur is rotating beautifully. That's pretty cool. So you can play around with your duration. You can change around how many iterations it kind of goes round. Play with a lot of things. You could add sounds and do a whole lot of things with it. But I'm pretty happy with that. We're going to press play. Let's test that out one more time. That goes a bit faster. Little spinning. I could really pump that up with how quickly it goes if I wanted to. So we're incorporating a little bit of maths with our spinning and rotations with also our 3D model, which is pretty cool. We'll go up to our 3 dots. We'll export it as a USDZ file so that I can share it with family, friends, the school, maybe an arts festival, and really do some cool stuff. We're going to call it something that I know that I can share it with. And this will be the file that I can airdrop. I can do a range of different things going forward as well. And so there you go. We've got our spinner. We're ready to share it. Hope you found that useful. It's always a little bit difficult with creating your own 3D, but with this great new website, this 3D creator, it's super easy, and it talks with Procreate and Reality Composer really well. Paul Hamilton here from UTB.